You had 6, Trustee Henry?
Say it again?
You have 6 online right
Okay.
now, 6 trustees.
Give me 1 second. Okay, dude, I'm going to go ahead and begin.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to the public hearing of the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees. If you'll please stand or sit, I know we're doing this remotely, for a moment of silence and then remain, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. The following trustees will be participating in the board briefing via video conferencing. District 1, Evelyn Flores. District 2, Dustin Marshall. District 3, Dan Mitchke. District 4, Carla Garcia. District 5, Maxie Johnson. District 6, Joyce Foreman. District 7, Ben Mackey. District 8, Miguel Solis. Our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Michael Hinojosa, joins us. And I'm Justin Henry, Board President. Trustee Flores, do you want to see here? Do you want to make the announcement? I think there's a link if you want translation.
Sí, sí, of course, thank you, President Henry. Si hay alguien que necesita los servicios de un intérprete, hay una línea separada si tienen el programa Zoom para poder conectarse a la interpretación en español. Gracias.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. On March 16th, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meetings laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meetings in response to coronavirus. And in accordance with those suspended rules, we certify the following. A, notice that this meeting has been hosted online for at least 72 hours. B, although members of the board are not gathered in a central physical location, we do have a quorum in attendance at this meeting by video conference or telephone call. We are meeting by use of Zoom meeting software application, which allows two-way communication for members of the public. As we would at any in-person meeting, members of the public who have followed the instructions on the meeting notice for registering to speak during the public comment portion will be unmuted for 3 minutes to speak. If you'd like to provide comment at a future meeting conducted by video conference or telephone call, please follow instructions on the meeting notice. E, all other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practicable. An audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be made available to the public. G, we apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented conditions. H, if you have questions about these suspended laws, please call the Office of Attorney General at 888-672-6787 or by my email at toma@oag.texas.gov. Our agenda now calls for the public forum segment of our meeting. However, I was informed no one signed up to speak. We're going to move on to our only agenda item of this hearing, which is 2020-2021 budget summary. Superintendent Helsa and your team, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and board members. We're required to have a public hearing, and so I will, without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dwayne Thompson, our capable Chief Financial Officer, to cover the requirements of the state law.
Thank you. Good evening. We have published this, the notice of the meeting and the proposed tax rate in the Dallas Morning News to meet the criteria required by law, and that's attached to your items. But we're going to quickly run through the budget, proposed budget. This is very, pretty much the same as what you've seen before. As we progress through, the tax rate that we're proposing is the $0.045. Just reiterate to the board that that will not be given to us by TEA, the exact tax rate until August, but that is what we're projecting based on where we believe will fall. It could be higher or lower than that, but that's what we've based the budget on, and the interest and sinking rate will remain at the 24.2 cents. We've also projected everything on a 5% increase of property tax and the student enrollment of 152,472, which is a decrease of 1,389 over where we were currently. If you go to the next page, that shows you by grade level what we've anticipated. None of these items have changed. The next slide identifies our revenue sources, and so you can see that we would be going to a higher percentage of local from 83.6 to 84.2 based on that 5% rise in value. Then the next page reflects the breakdown of that revenue by local, state, and federal. And as you're aware, as the local revenue goes up, the state revenue goes down. And so you see that reflected there, but we are reflecting a $38.3 million increase in revenue. The majority of that is $28 million in TIA for the teacher initiative. The next slide is local revenues. So you can see that we anticipate another $47 million of current taxes based on that 5% value increase, but we are projecting our interest earnings to decline because of the economy and where interest rates are currently. The next page relates to our strategic initiatives, which are included in the budget. The next page is the projected expenses by object, and you can see we are anticipating increase in the payroll cost, predominantly because of the TIA, the money that we receive from the state. That has 90% of that has to go to the campus payroll at that particular campus. Now, in the next slide, we had mentioned in the previous meeting that we were going to propose a change to the budget, so I want to reflect that change here, although I'm just going to verbally do that. One of the things the board is required to do when they approve the budget is approve it by fund, by function. So we are proposing to amend this budget by $5.2 million and to change the top line of instruction from $956,852,867 to $962,052,867. So basically adding the $5.2 million there to satisfy the requirement of proposing a budget by function. When we actually come to the final conclusion of how those resources are going to be distributed, we'll do a budget amendment to reflect that. This way, the resources that we discussed at the earlier meeting are in the budget, so then we are ready to go, and if the positions need to be hired to fill, we're able to do that earlier than later. So instead of at the bottom where it says the budget would be $1.646060791, we would be asking the board to approve the budget of $1,651,267,791. So, and then that would represent an increase of from the $31 million increase previously. So as we go to the next slide is on food service. That did not have a change. And then the final slide, as it relates to debt service, is where we're anticipating. Again, I want to point out toward the bottom of the page, the 2016 B6 escrow deposits. We are anticipating to deposit and pay off early almost $57 million of outstanding bonds, and that would be done through the variable rate bonds that we have, or call dates that we have set up periodically related to outstanding bond issues. So really the only change between what you saw at the briefing and what we're presenting tonight is what we discussed at the earlier, is the $5.2 million fiscal note for the racial equity. So I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have. That is what we've presented as the requirement of the briefing, and there are no speakers, so I could answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Dwayne. See, Trustee Foreman, Trustee Marshall, Trustee Mitch K. Who had Trustee Foreman at the floor? Followed by Marshall, Mitch K.
know what we fighting trans.
Can you hear me?
It was
I can now.
Yep.
But
Okay,
there's-
I'm good. Go ahead. I'll ask at the board meeting.
Thank you. Trustee Marshall and then trustee, Mitchell.
I'll be brief since we've seen this many times, but you know, as you pointed out, Dwayne, the only change is the 5.2 million, and I know you're putting that in instruction, but can you enumerate what that money's being spent on and how we came with the total of 5.2?
Yeah, so we took a look at the items that we included in the deck that we just presented to you and anticipated the number of positions that we would have to add for the variety of, whether it's a reading specialist or to eliminate the waivers at the particular campuses. And so we provided an estimate as well as staff development and those type things to come up with what we anticipated to be the initial cost of that. We understand fully that some of those things may change, but we wanted to go ahead and incorporate in the budget what we knew now, and that way we could get started on those things and then come back and adjust at a later point.
So if I'm looking at the equity presentation that we just went through, should I be assuming that 5.2 million is being spent on slide?
If I can answer the question, there'll be several slides. So there'll be positions, there'll be staff development, there'll be materials and supplies, there'll be a variety of expenditures related to that.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a little more meat on the bone than that. I'm wondering which of these items are the costly ones.
Trustee Marshall, maybe I can give a little more context. So we have all of the pre-AP, AP training is in there, the professional development for cultural responsive teaching and learning, the curricular materials. A large part is going to be the reading specialist, the facilitators that Stephanie spoke about. We've got the teacher residency, we've got recruitment, the principal stipends, class size waivers, the mentor programs, and we also have the African American Success Initiative. So it's, you know, it's everything that it would cost to implement the actions that we went through today. But those are like the big bucketed items.
Okay, it strikes me that y'all are probably hedging your bets here and planning to come back with a larger number later, because I can't imagine you can accomplish everything we just talked about in the previous 5 hours with $5 million.
Well, and that is an estimate, but I mean, it's a good estimate. And then, you know, we will look at the information that Trustee Mackey gave, the information Trustee Solis, and then any other information that the trustees give from your community meetings. And we'll use this year to explore those options. And then for next year, we may be asking for more dollars to support some of the ideas and concepts that came forward.
In addition, we reserve the right, if there's something else that comes up before the end, to bring back a budget amendment. But we wanted to show good faith that we're willing to put this $5.2 million into this budget right now so that we can start hiring these people.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate you need some money up front. I just, you know, I think you're wise, Dr. Hinojosa, to make that comment, because I think it's somewhat inevitable that you do come back and ask for a budget amendment for some of these items we discussed, especially if we're going to train 20,000 employees in a timely fashion. So,
Right.
all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Marshall. Trustee Mitchell.
Thank you. I wanted to add my thanks as well for adding, for the administration adding this item. And I appreciate the sincere efforts you're making to carry out what I think is all of our intent to try to achieve racial equity. And this is, I think, a good step. But I wanted to ask about the tax rate. We will set that in August, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, and the current tax rate is how much right now?
Our current tax rate for our operations is $1.6835.
Okay, so we're anticipating that there will be another reduction in the operating and maintenance tax rate.
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchell. I don't see any other questions or comments. Like you said, we've seen this multiple times. I appreciate the inclusion based on the long conversation we just had. If there's not any more comments, let me make sure. Not seeing any. The time is 7:05 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.
We're going to need a
Trust-
excuse me, Trustee Henry, we're going to need a 5-minute reset
Okay.
so you guys can rejoin the board meeting now.
Okay. So trustees will log off of this and click the meeting, the board meeting Zoom link,
Yes.
and we'll start in roughly 5 minutes. Got it. Thank you. See you soon.